Alright, so now we're going to take a look at type errors and parse errors and how to handle those. Okay, so not much different than what we did in the last video. So we have a user class here, which I'm basically just using to show that if we don't handle our errors elegantly, then the destruct is not going to run and our resources won't be closed properly. Okay, so let's go down here and we're going to create a function. And we'll call this sum, and it's going to take in first of all, when we're dealing with type errors, we're dealing with type hinting, which we went over in the last section. So we're going to have two integers here, and we're going to label them as integers. So this will be num1, then we'll have int num2. And then here all we need to do is return num1 plus num2. Okay, and then down here we're going to create a try catch block. And let's first do it the PHP 5 way. We'll just have an exception. And in here we'll go ahead and just echo. So let's just do e get message. Alright, and then in here, first thing we'll do is instantiate the user class. So we'll say user equals new user. And then we're gonna, actually let's just run that first. Okay, so you can see that the constructor is running and the destruct function is also running. Now, if we do something that's going to throw an error, like let's say we want to echo the sum function, if we just put two integers, that shouldn't give us any error. Okay, that gives us 3. If I go ahead and change one of these to a string, and we run that, we get a fatal error. Alright, and our destruct function is never called. So what we want to do here is, instead of an exception, we can actually just add another catch here. And instead of exception, we're going to use error. And then down here, what we'll do is we're going to echo, put some strong tags. And what we can do is we can identify the type of error it is. So in here, we're going to concatenate a function called get class, or get underscore class, and then we're going to pass in $e. Alright, and then over here we'll have some text. We'll say on line, and then we'll say e get line, and then let's see, we're going to concatenate, actually let's just put, you know what we'll do is get rid of that colon, and then I'm going to put the strong tags, I'm going to put the ending strong tag over here. Okay, we'll go like that. And then we're going to have the message. So we'll say $e get message. Alright, that should work. A semicolon, and let's save it and go ahead and run it. Alright, so actually let me put a line break on the end of this as well. So we get our constructor runs, and then we have our error, and you can see it says type error, which is coming from the get class method. Whoops. Right here, this get class, passing in the error here, is giving us this type error. And it's on line 12, and it gives us our message, which says argument 1 passed to sum must be of type integer, but there's a string given. Alright, and then down here you can see we're calling the destruct. Alright, so everything's closing properly even though we have this error. So that's a type error. Now let's take a look at a parse error. So a parse error usually gets fired off if, say, you're trying to require a file that's not there, or there's some kind of syntax error in there. Also, if you're using the val function. Alright, so let's take a look at that. Let's set a variable in here called result, and we're going to set that to eval. And then in here what we'll do is we'll do a var dump, but we're going to misspell it on purpose. And we'll just pass in 1. Okay, if we go ahead and save that, reload, you can see that we're getting error on line 1. Now it doesn't say parse error like it does with the type error, but it still works. Okay. Now if we want to do a require of a file that has an error, let's go ahead and try that. So we'll say new file, and we'll just call this required.php, and let's do, we'll say echo something. We'll say something's not right. Alright, now notice that I have a quote, a single quote here, so that's going to throw an error. So let's save that, and then go down here, comment that out, and we're going to try to require, and it's called required.php. Alright, so let's try and run that. Okay, and now you can see that it defines as a parse error, and it tells us that there's a syntax error in that file. Actually, it doesn't say the file, so we can actually put that in there. If we go on line something, and then we'll say of, and then let's do file name, which we can do get file, and there we go. So it tells us there's a parse error, and tells us the line number, and it tells us the file that has the syntax error. Alright, so that's how we can elegantly handle type errors and parse errors.